Good morning, it's Sunday the 24th of June 2018. You can probably tell that my voice is a bit off and I'll have to make this a little brief because I'm struggling to breathe and talk at the same time, and this is all down to this sinus infection that I've got. So, last night was a total disaster. I couldn't imagine how things could have just gone more wrong, and it was like being in one of those slapstick comedies, and after it all I was just too exhausted to even explain to you guys what had actually happened, but here it is. There was a gigantic spider, size of the palm of my hand if you include the legs. It wasn't like the size of a tarantula, but it was probably about half that size, and it was bigger than any spider I've ever seen in a house or garden before. It's bigger than any spider I've seen in this country before. So I'm not normally that frightened of spiders, but this one was really unusual, and it was just super hairy, and it kind of looked quite threatening. So first of all I went round my room trying to So first of all I went round my room trying to catch it with this big bucket I've got that I use for my fish tanks, but it just kept getting away, and it was the fastest spider ever, and it was just really upsetting because I was worried that if it could run that fast, what's it going to do when I'm asleep? Run all over me. So I waited for a while, and it actually stopped like just under where the wheel of my wheelchair, where I'd only have to go forward a centimetre or two to crush the spider to pieces. So I thought, aha, I've got you now, spider. And I crept up to the wheelchair, got in, and suddenly pushed the controls forwards and tried to run the spider over. And I wasn't sure if I managed it or not, and I was inspecting the floor for the spider, and at that point the spider ran up my leg, ran up onto my chest here, and I looked down at it and it was just right there in front of my face with those, you know how, because it was so close and so big, I could really see all the details of its face, you know, those creepy eyes with all the different bits in them, and the creepy sort of mouth. And my mum has told me that she's been bitten quite a few times by spiders like this, so that really frightened me. I flew into a sort of panic, just went mad trying to get out of the wheelchair, not really knowing what I was doing, and like fell out of the chair over the side of the arm. And then basically I didn't realise that the sleeve of my dressing gown that I was wearing was tangled on the joystick of the wheelchair, so when I fell out the chair just started moving, and it took me a minute to work out what was going on. Like, the world was just moving under my feet, but it wasn't. It was the chair that was sort of starting to drag me along the floor, and I tried to get away, tried to, you know, move my arm like this, trying to get the sleeve untangled, because I was sort of down here and, you know, the sleeve was tangled on the joystick. But all I did by doing this was turn the joystick, so then the chair turned around and was heading straight towards me, and oh my god, I just made a series of errors through the panic and confusion of it all, and I ended up just tangling it up more, and instead of stopping I just carried on trying to escape because I was getting a bit frantic. And then the chair crashed into basically all the furniture in my room. It crashed into the bed. I sort of tried to move my arm to turn the chair away backwards with it all tangled up in the dressing gown, but then it just sort of turned and crashed into my desk, and then turned again and crashed into my zebra print bedside table, and the entire table just tipped right over like it was nothing. This chair is so heavy, 150 kilos it weighs. It's almost like a car. So the fish tank went flying through the air, it all smashed, the fish was flopping about on the floor. I had a nightmare trying to pick him up through all the broken glass and shit. Eventually I managed to get him into a little dish, and I thought after the must have been 4 or 5 minutes that he'd been out of the water that he would definitely be a goner. But when I put him in the water, he suddenly revived and was swimming around. And this all happened last night, and I checked on him this morning. I've put him in a big bucket with all his tank ornaments so he feels a bit safer, and he still seems to be swimming around happily. I mean, he looks all pale, and it looks like there might have been some injuries to his sort of face there, like cuts or something, but I'm hopeful that he's going to survive. So last night, after all this happened, I was so confused, and I felt so dizzy and ill from having the sinus infection as well, on top of all that crazy stuff happening. I knocked on my mum's door, and she came out, and I had to tell her the whole story of what happened, and she just thought it was hilarious. And then she went off and told her partner, and I could just hear both of them laughing hysterically. She like couldn't get the story out because she was laughing so much. She just kept saying the fish was flopping about, and then bursting into laughter, and then couldn't finish the story. And I mean, okay, it is quite funny. I wish that I'd been able to get a video of the whole thing, because that would have been pretty amazing to watch, but anyway, I've got this horrible task this morning of cleaning up all the gravel and plants and water and smashed glass that fell out of the tank, and I also think that I need to generally tidy up my room and make it more wheelchair friendly, because this could have been so much worse. I mean, all I got was a bruised ankle, I think, but I think it's just bruised, but the chair could have crushed me, you know, I could have been a goner. So I can see the funny side of it, and I'm just happy that I didn't get injured apart from the sort of bruise and scratch to my ankle, and the fish survived. Anyway, I need to go and get started on cleaning all that stuff up now. So I'm going to try and do that. Bye bye for now. Hello, me again. So today has been pretty rubbish. I've not managed to do anything. The sinus infection has hit me really hard, and I think it's basically just this whole bacterial infection, and it goes into all these, you know, holes you've got in your skull, and it just hurts. And I mean, in the mirror I can see that my face is swollen around here where the sinuses are. I'm not going to go to the doctor about it yet, because I don't think there's much they can do other than give me antibiotics, but I'd rather avoid that if possible. So the only productive thing I managed to do today was to fill in these questionnaires. I got these through the specialist EDS people I've been seeing at the UCL hospital in London, and basically they said all the way back in December, I think it was, 2017, that I'd be able to go on this 3-week inpatient programme, and ever since December we've been calling and writing to them and contacting them continuously asking how I can get on this programme. And finally, after my mum called them again a few days ago, they decided to actually get on with it. So they've sent me a letter saying that I'm being considered for the 3-week inpatient programme, and it's to help you manage pain and, you know, therapeutic sort of management. And I really do want to go on it. I think it's my only opportunity to, you know, actually get a bit more information and possibly improve my quality of life. And so I really hope they pick me for it, because not everyone gets the opportunity. But anyway, they sent me a bunch of really long questionnaires that I've got to fill in, and I've done that today, on and off, or it's taken me all day, but I've managed it. So one of the things was this, which is basically you need to colour in the parts where you feel pain, and I've had these at the physiotherapist as well, and honestly they're a bit ridiculous for someone who suffers from EDS, because you could almost colour the whole thing in, but I've tried to just mark out the worst pain, which is my hip, my stomach, my spine, my neck, my shoulder and my hands, especially my thumbs. And then this pink one is just like a series of psychological questionnaires and things that are, some of them are quite depressing. Where would you mark yourself on a scale from no disability to total disability on various things? An example is doing things with friends, acquaintances and other family members, including parties, theatres, concerts, eating out and other social functions. So obviously I've put 10 total disability because I can't do any of those things anymore. This question made me laugh. In general, would you say your health is 1, excellent, 2, very good, 3, good, 4, fair, 5, poor? So obviously I went for poor, but that just makes me laugh, because what sort of person would be going to a 3-week inpatient programme that had excellent health? And then there's another one along those lines much further in. It says, how true or false is each of the following statements to you? 1, I seem to get ill more easily than other people. Well, I mean, I have currently got a sinus infection that came out of nowhere. 2, I'm as healthy as anybody I know. 3, I expect my health to get worse. Well, because of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis, I know that it will. 4, my health is excellent. So they're basically just asking you whether your health is good or not in 4 different ways. Then at the end they ask you to rate how good or bad your health is on a scale from 0 to 100, where 100 means the best health you can imagine and 0 means the worst health you can imagine. And I don't even know where to begin with that. I can't ever have a normal life again, you know, I'm always going to be severely limited by all these things, and I do think I make the best of it and I'm okay with it, but that still doesn't change the fact that my health is bad. So I've put 30 out of 100. I mean, I think that's quite arbitrary. I don't feel like that really encompasses my full experience. I really wanted to put 0, but then I know people with the same conditions as me who have got much worse symptoms or complications, so that wouldn't be right. So yeah, I had a bit of a tough time filling those in. When somebody keeps asking over and over how severely your disability and health impacts your daily life in all these different areas, and you have to keep filling in that you're severely affected over and over again with just slightly different questions, it's kind of a downer, and I also think it's a bit unnecessary. But anyway, I've done that, so I'm going to go and post those back off tomorrow. Well, I say I'm going to post them. I'm going to give it to my mum to post at work. I still need to try and recover from this sinus infection. I apologise if it's making my voice hard to understand, by the way. So, I'm going to say goodnight then. Bye bye.